Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Salt Project Community Open Hour. I'm Chunga. I'm your Salt Project Community Manager. Thanks for being here. Can you see this? Can everybody see this? No, it's just a blank screen again, right?
Blank screen.
It says you started screen sharing, but I don't actually see a screen.
Oh man, here we go again. Nothing like starting off the gig. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Keeps doing it. So that you guys know, when I go to share, I can see what it is that I'm trying to share. But for some reason it won't let me. Let me try this one more time. I'll try it over here. Okay, thanks for your patience, everybody. Let's try this one. And hey,
There you go.
There we are. Fantastic. Thanks everybody for checking uh-oh. Did it go? Can you still see it? Yeah.
There. Stop.
Yeah.
Still there.
Still there. All right. Fantastic. Sorry, everybody. Welcome. February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Punxsutawney Phil sucks. That's what we've learned today here at Salt Project Community Open Hour. Here's
Careful,
where you can
he
find
bites.
us. Yeah, right. Yeah. Salt Project. Here's where you can find us. YouTube, GitHub, Slack, Twitch, Reddit, LinkedIn, and Facebook and Twitter. So that's where you can find us. Also the Hacks podcast, wherever fine podcasts are consumed. It's a fun show. Here's what we're talking about today. We're going to have some general updates. We're going to give some love to our good friend Nick Hughes. We're going to check in with Thomas Phipps and get an update from community forums. Also, Alyssa Rock. Always a pleasure when she presents for us. We'll be getting an update from the Salt Docs working group. Pedro is here. That's going to be fun. We've got an overview of the GitHub Actions pipeline, what's going on there. And then some of you were here the last time we talked about this, the LTS STS release plan. DWAS will update us on that. We've updated the process and the slide and everything else. And then, of course, we'll have a Q&A where you can all ask about it. Open hour every first and third Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. That's 11 a.m. to noon Mountain time, and it just works over from there. Our next Salt Project Community Open Hour will be on February 16th. We'd like to invite you to join a Salt Project working group. That's saltproject.io/home/working. Just go to Salt Project. It's super easy to find. It's just right there on the, get involved thing. And also, I want to take a minute, if I may. I want to give a shout out to a good friend of ours who is no longer with VMware. He has moved on, and we wish him very well. I want to give a big shout out to our good friend, Wayne Werner. He's been involved with Salt. He's been a part of the Salt core team for years, and his presence within the community was, and hopefully will be in the future, massive. So thank you, Wayne, for everything that you've done to support Salt and support your mates here on the Salt Project core team. We wish you all the best. Now, because Wayne is no longer with us, of course, he's fine. He's in good form, but he's just no longer on the Salt core team. Our new joke man, our new joke person, our new joke monkey will be Shane Lee. So let's give a round of applause to Shane Lee.
Yeah,
He's got the big book.
A permanent assignment.
I know you didn't. But, it doesn't have to be Shane, but I'm thinking once you do it, you're going to love it and you're just going to want to continue. Yeah, if not, we'll find somebody else.
Maybe that's why Wayne left. Maybe he cracked under the pressure.
that could be it. So I intentionally put you on the spot there, Shane. I did that intentionally because I know what a good dude you are, and you're just gonna roll with it, right? You're just in there. Salt Project user group meetups. This is a thing. Go to Spugum, which sounds like a dirty word, spugum.com. That's SPUGM. So these are going to be single day events. This is all coordinated by our good friend Nick Hughes. Single day events, speakers, recorded sessions, food, networking, all in person, all wherever salt is consumed, all around this Mother Earth. So go to, again, spugum.com to see how you can become involved and find out where a user group meeting is happening close to you. Thomas, in beautiful Las Vegas, going to be sunny and 70 this weekend. Thomas, what's happening with the Salt user group or the Salt community forum? Sorry.
It actually got quite busy recently. Had a couple of new users, and one of them asked a question that, now that I think about it, more people should ask, but nobody really has. And that's basically what actually happens when you run state.apply. So this is going to be a bit. What basically happens is first the master puts the command onto the event bus so that all of the minions can pick it up. Each of the minion pick up the command, look at the target, sees if this command is for them or not. If it's not for them, they just drop it and they're done. After that, the minions that do pick up the target will create a connection with the master and start requesting the top.sls, at which point they'll render the top SLS with whatever the rendering settings are, usually Jinja YAML, which will render the Jinja first, then the YAML into a Python data structure. After that, it'll process that Python data structure in order, pulling down each of the files that it's requested, rendering them in the same Jinja style, doing Jinja first, then YAML into a Python data structure, merging that data structure together into the high state, at which point it'll translate that high state into a low state, generate, and then run through the low state. Through each individual state will be a chunk, at which point the requisites will also be fired between the states.
Did we hear some, did someone have a question or was that hysterical laughter? Like I couldn't tell. No idea. All
I
right,
think
Thomas.
it was just something coming off mute on accident.
Oh, okay. All right, just making sure. Thomas, proceed, sir, if you would.
And that is an oversimplification because there is also preloading. The when the minion connects back to the master at the very beginning, it'll also ask for new pillars, refresh the grains, and things like that. But that only happens on a full high state, not if you say, "Hey, use this state." It also checks for if there's a master top, which hardly anybody ever actually uses. But
Wait, hardly ever anybody uses what?
Master tops. It's basically a top that the master programmatically pushes.
I had never heard of it.
It's usually used with things like what is the name of that program? It's an Ansible program. It's like Forerunner or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll research that.
Foreman, thank you. And somebody asked states are cached. The cache does have a TTL, so it depends on if there's how long it's been since the last refresh, but if it's been a while and it detects that the file hasn't changed, it's usually done with the file server stuff, so it's the top doesn't actually do it, it just checks.
Very cool. All right, is there anything else, Sir Thomas? Is that it, or do we have more?
That's pretty much it. Usually what people
right.
have problems with is the whole rendering thing, because they'll get Jinja errors, YAML errors, and then possibly actual state errors. And unless you know how to differentiate the three, you might end up looking for Jinja errors when you're having YAML errors.
On that note, is there a way, this is a question that's come up within my team, is there a clean, easy way to get the rendered YAML, so it's gone through the Jinja state, but not yet the YAML state, out of Salt?
slsutil.renderer.
SLSutil.render. Okay. And I'm assuming that has to be, I'm assuming that has to be per minion, because otherwise it wouldn't know what data to feed into the Jinja.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
By the way, while we're here, if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, and you don't have the benefit of having Thomas right here to ask the question immediately, you can always go to our SaltProject Slack channel. It's a great resource. Thomas is always there. If you're not in our Slack channel yet, super simple. You just go to saltproject.io and there's a Slack button. You can hit the Slack button and you can jump in that way. I know some people have had some problems with getting into our Slack channel in the past. That should be completely resolved. If you're still having problems, if you're watching this and you're still having problems, just hit me via email at schunga@vmware.com. That's schunga, CHUNGA, at vmware.com, and we'll get you sorted the right way. But in the meantime, just go to saltproject.io and we'll get you set up. Thank you, Thomas.
Yep.
It's good stuff. Okay, next up, Alyssa Rock with an update from the SaltProject working group.
Thanks,
SaltProject
Chunga.
Docs working group, sorry. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. Yeah, so we've got a lot of cool projects that are being worked on in the Salt Docs working group these days, but there's one I want to highlight today, which is that Bennett Charles is working he's working on a module documentation quality project to ensure that the overall quality of the documentation for the modules are improved. And so as part of that project, he wants to create one or two really good modules that showcase the kind of documentation we would like to see in the other module documentation. And since it's a highly used module, we're working on the file state and remote execution modules to make sure that the docs for those are in a really good place. One of the pieces of feedback that we got from a lot of people across the board that needs to be improved in the module docs are having more use cases. So Bennett is working on providing more use cases for the file state and remote execution modules. And in order to do that, since he's a technical writer, he doesn't always know the context for some of these functions in the modules. It'd be really great if the community could help him come up with some use cases for some of them. So these are a few that he told me that he's interested in getting some use cases for. He wants file.accumulated, .append, .block replace, and .cached. So feel free to, if you want to help Bennett come up with a couple of use cases for that. If you want, you can join the module docs channel to provide some information, or when Bennett makes a post in the general channel asking for help, please help him. So yeah, we could all use your help just generating more use cases for the Salt module docs. And that's it for me, Chunga. Thanks.
Are those use cases in the form of just like some states or something, or?
Just knowing how to use it. What does that even do? Like, when would you use file.accumulated? What's the purpose and things like that. So
Cool.
Thanks. Over to you, Chunga.
You're muted, Chunga.
That's why Lisa's going, thanks. Over to you, Chunga. Over to you, Chunga. Sorry, I was going, and I was in there too, man. It was good. I was talking about how great Alyssa is and how if you have more questions, again, on YouTube, she's always on Slack. She is omnipresent. You can find her real quick there in the SaltProject page. Okay, so Pedro, are you there, Pedro?
I am.
Thanks
Yes.
for being here, man. I appreciate this. Can you take over for us?
I can, yes. So if you've been watching the GitHub repository and paying special attention to the actions tab, you've seen some changes going in lately. And I'll explain a bit what's going on and a little background on why. So we've been running our test suite on Jenkins. And we wanted to try to create not just a CI pipeline, but a CD pipeline to improve our delivery of releases. And it became clearer as we started tackling this problem that instead of investing in Jenkins and custom plugins and all of that, that we could migrate to something that is easier, it's more consumable by our users, and it's more visible by our users, which would be the GitHub Actions. We had a few problems that we had to solve, which is the amount of testing that we do is too much for the amount of runners that GitHub provides to the open project. And so we had to overcome that a little bit. We had to create a backend that would spin up our own runners so that we could test using GitHub Actions. And so right now we have a properly working CI pipeline where we are testing, and we are implementing the CD pipeline. The main difference is we want to be ready to make a release by the push of a button. So there's a lot of things that still need some improvement. If you've been through the project, you know that our test suite is a little flaky due to the nature of what's being tested. We are testing a lot of platforms, several versions of each of those platforms. Some tests need services running. Some are timing issues because the machine is under load. So we will need to refine that over time, but we are getting there. Shane, can I share my screen? Not Shane, sorry, Changa. Can I share my screen just so that we can see instead of
Absolutely.
a screenshot?
Yep, go for it.
Let me try and share a little bit and explain. So not this one. This one is what I'm working on. It's broken. Let's show you something that is not broken. Aha. So this is okay. Let's show you a pull request that was made by Shane, and this is our pipeline. As you can see, it has a lot of steps in it. We can hardly see what's going on, but if you try and zoom, if you hover, you see the dependent steps and the depending steps, and with time you'll get a notion of what's going on. I'll explain a little bit what's actually doing. So we have a first step, which is prepare workflow run. This is a step where we decide what actually is going to run. We don't run the full test suite on pull requests. We run tests against the changed files so that we can get feedback about the pull requests sooner rather than later, because right now it takes us 4 hours to run the full test suite, and that has improved, but it's still 4 hours. And so for pull requests, we only run a chunk of the test suite based off of the changed files. And so we make those decisions on this first step, what runs and where it runs, on GitHub hosted runners, on self-hosted runners, etc. Those kind of decisions. We run pre-commit. That's we always run that everywhere. So pull requests when we merge into the branch, that makes makes the job of reviewing a pull request simpler, because you will get a heads notice if that's just a formatting issue that you need to fix before someone actually reviews a pull request, and you get a chance to review to actually fix that and push again your changes. We build the documentations, we run the lint. That's something that we did. A new thing that we do because of our desire to get a CD pipeline, so continuous delivery pipeline, is the prepare release. So the idea here is that we will always prepare Salt for a release. That means building man pages, documentation, the release change logs, the change log for RPMs, for devs, all of those things get generated, and we create a diff of what the changes are, and we store that. We then basically use that diff and apply it to every other step going forward. So we will be testing what could potentially be a release. We have been we switched to the 1 year, so Salt 2006 will be using a 1 year, which is we basically ship Python itself and all of the dependencies to the users. We build that 1 year for Linux, x86, ARM, Windows, Mac OS, etc. We build a source ball that's in parallel, and then we build the Salt 1 year. This is where we install Salt into the 1 year, and this 1 year is what goes to be tested. As you've seen now here, we also have this step, which is building the actual packages, RPMs, debs, Windows, Mac OS. This is running in parallel while the test suite is running. These are the several tests that we are running since several platforms and their versions. And this would be a pull request. So I'm basically showcasing the CI aspect of this. If I show you this one, I will be showcasing the CD aspect of this. So this is all something that I've shown you, testing and all of that. But at the end, we have 2 extra steps, which is we build the Debian repositories, RPM repositories, the Windows 1 year repositories, Mac OS, and the actual 1 years where we provide the 1 year as a tarball, which you can just download, unzip, and you're ready to go, instead of having to install the package on your system. So there's multiple ways that you can start using Salt. And at the end, if all of that is successful, we actually publish. This is the nightly workflow. So our idea is to provide nightly builds of Salt. They will be available in the Salt-dev, I believe, repository. If you ever want to try a package, you can grab one from there. The work that is still ongoing is a staging and a release pipelines or workflows, like they are called in GitHub. The staging is basically we grab that diff that we created initially, we apply that, and we do everything like it was a release. So we publish that to the staging repositories that we have, where we can do extra testing if we need to do, like we need to test if the URLs are fine, if you can actually install the packages using that repository, etc. That will go into that stage. And once we have that stage passing and green, we can pass that to the release stage. The release stage will basically be, okay, grab what's in staging, apply the diff to the source, to the Salt source code, commit, tag, and publish to PyPy, and make the repositories available to everyone, and clear caches about the repositories so that when everyone updates the repositories, they will get the new release of Salt. And that's the idea that we are trying to chase. It's been a long road, and we are still in the works to that. But our plan is to be able to provide a more consistent experience and hopefully a faster release cadence to Salt by being aware of all the steps and failures as we are working. And as an overall overview of the pipelines, I think that's it. Feel free to ask any questions about it if you have them.
I'll just add one minor thing. I just want to point out that, I mean, you touched on it, but I just want to point it out a little bit more, is that the artifact that we're building in the beginning of this pipeline, the Wonder artifact, is what we are testing, and all of the unit tests, integration tests, and functional tests. And then in addition to that, that is what we then use to build the packages, the system level packages. And then we also have tests that will run against those system level packages just to verify the packaging of that artifact. So the thing that we are testing against is the thing that will be released when we do the release.
Yeah.
I have a question for these steps in the CI. is it possible to see the code or the script for the individual steps? I would love to know how Salt is actually built.
Everything is in, well, you Pedro can take you there now, but everything is under the GitHub .github directory in the root of the Salt repository.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, the workflows are all there, so you can
Yeah,
follow the
you
steps that we are doing.
You should be able to follow along with that.
Can you show them how to find the artifacts on a build?
So let's say that you have your pull request. This is actually the nightly build, so let's not go there. So for example, if you want to test a pull request of yours, you click the summary and you will get information here at the bottom. So all of this is artifacts. The naming is changing. And actually on the other one, I think it's fixed, but you can see the packages that we have built here. This is code coverage information that we want to use. These are the wonders of Salt for the several platforms and architectures. This is the diff that I mentioned that is applied to the source code that will actually make the exact same reproducible release of Salt. This is the source tarball. This is the actual devs build. So there's a lot of artifacts that we have at the end of our pipeline. And this one here is, for example, the artifacts that we download from test runs. So if something failed and you want to access the logs and you don't want to go through the GitHub UI, or for whatever reason, you also have access to those by downloading this test run artifact.
File.
Yeah.
Existing.
Why is the diff so large? That's a 3.3 meg diff.
Yeah. So
Is
that's
that just to get it to build?
No, this diff is all of the man pages that need to change. The change logs are actually quite big. Also, let me show you the diff. I actually have a step. Let me see if show diff. So this is the diff that is actually done. So these are, well, GitHub is slow on me. I bet Sumi is not helping. Anyway,
I'll dig into this. I
Yeah.
believe your statement.
If you click on the show diff, this is exactly what's going on there, and there's
Okay.
a lot changing to make a release happen.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's a diff from the last release, or diff from what? What's it? Diff
No, that is all of the automatically generated things that we need when we do a release. So the change logs and everything are generated from Town Crier. So anything that we need to generate that's not originally a part of the source code, that will then get committed when we tag. Right, so all these changes, when we're just doing PRs and we're doing nightly builds, they will never get committed. They will be, the change logs will be in the packages and everything, but nothing's going to get committed back into the Salt repository. But for the for when we actually do a real release, there will be a commit message with all of this stuff. And then that is what will get tagged.
This is great. This is great stuff. Pedro, is there anything else with this that we need to know? Or are we good?
Not at the moment, but if you have extra questions, I'm SoundTech at the Slack channels, and feel free to ping me.
Of course, and then we have our Q&A coming up as well. Listen, I'm just going to throw this out there. We like to reward prizes for feats of skill and extreme intelligence. So Pedro, I'd like to invite you at this time to go to the Salty store on saltproject.io, pick out something, Slack me, and I'll send you a code. Round of applause for Pedro. That was good stuff. Well done, sir.
Thank you. I must add that I didn't do it all by myself, but the whole team has contributed a fair portion of it. But thank you. I'm happy. I'm happy to take the credits. I'm happy.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Well, hey, thank you. Just the same, Pedro. That was fantastic. Let's see here. Let me see if I can share again, and we will kick it over to DWAS. Thank you for the assist on that as well, by the way, DWAS, for helping out Pedro with the other part. So now we're talking about the updated LTS STS release plan. We tried this once before and determined that we needed a little bit of refinement. So, so what are we looking at here, sir?
Okay, so first I would like to thank Alyssa for making this slide. We had a slide before, but this one is much nicer looking. So thanks so much for that. But basically the change here is that when we presented this last time, we were missing the CVE support on the STS releases. So we have added that. And then of course, this is much prettier. But this just demonstrates how we plan to do releases moving forward, and that we will have long-term supported releases. So people can rely on getting bug fixes and things for those releases, and we'll still be able to do feature releases and get features out in a timely manner. And all of this work, all of the work that you just saw with the pipelines and everything is all around being able to release Salt whenever we want to, being able to do it very easily and not requiring a lot of steps that will potentially be broken when we want to go to do a release. So the idea, as Pedro mentioned, is that we want to get to a point where it's essentially a push button release. And we are getting very close to that. So for RC1, we're going to be very close, but for GA, there's a few things that we may not have in place automation wise for RC1, but by the time we go to GA for 3006, everything is going to be automated for the releases. And
very cool.
That's all I have, and looking forward to the Q&A session for this open hour.
You're also looking forward to a new treat from the Salty Store, DWAS. Well done, sir. You get to go to the Salty Store, pick out whatever you want, and send me the item. I'll get you a code. Thanks, man, for taking the time to do this. Yeah. So okay. Well, moving right along, then I'm sure there's a lot of questions that people are going to have. It's time for our Q&A, or as I like to call it, Nick time, as you all know. Let's get right to it. Questions, one and all.
I don't really have a whole lot this time, but I am interested kind of on the specifics of how the long-term support and short-term support is going to work inside of the repository. Like, if we were doing trunk-based development or something like that, right? Like we would cut a tag, and then if we had to do fixes off of that, we would cut a branch off of the tag or something like that, and then that would move forward independently. Like, I guess, how is that going to work? Are we going to have long-term branches, long-lived branches inside the repo?
Yes, there will be a branch for whatever the current LTS is, and then all of the short-term stuff will take place off of master.
Okay.
And we'll have to make sure that everything is getting ported between the two properly. We don't want to get into a situation where we're doing a lot of merge forwards like we used to do. So some of that is still a little bit up in the air, and the process will get ironed out as we move forward. But yeah, the plan is to have a branch for the LTS.
Yeah, porting between branches, is that going to be the responsibility of the person who puts in the PR, or is the core team going to help with that?
The core, we would like to rely on the contributor, but the core team is there to help for sure. Especially like, when things get very out of sync, like features and stuff, I can understand it'll get potentially kind of tough for the contributors. So we'll be there to help in those situations.
Well, features should only be going into master though, ever.
Right, but there's potential for very big difference as time moves on, right? Over a year, master is going to look very, very different than whatever the LTS looks like, especially when I attack the multi-master stuff.
Yeah, I think that's my major concern, right? Like the divergence that can occur once we start to get into long-lived branches like that. So I guess I'm not a big fan of it, but you know, I'm happy that there's going to be help there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the goal is to provide more stable release for people that are not able to upgrade to new releases as soon as we like to push them out. There's a lot of people that use Salt that just cannot upgrade easily for various reasons, and so the long-term support gives them a way to remain stable and get bug fixes and everything, and then it still allows us to iterate quickly and add new features quickly. So it's going to be an interesting ride, and as you know, we've changed the way we've done things several times in the past, and so hopefully we're nailing it this time, but we shall see.
Cool.
There's a question if you're good, Nick. We have a question in the chat. It's from Veps. Is that how you pronounce that, Veps? Sorry if I'm doing that wrong. Is it likely that Wonder packaging is going to stop changing after 3006? I don't know really anything about Wonder, but was told that it will be changing from 3005 to 3006, and that I should wait for 3006 before transitioning. Does anybody have any thoughts or an answer to that?
Yes, Wonder is the methodology for Wonder is stable in 3006 and will not be changing.
And we're using it on 3005 and it's working, we think.
Yeah, so 3005, we were using PyInstaller to do the Wonder. We're using a different tool now. It's called RelEnv, which should make things much cleaner and easier to understand. At least that was the goal. So, but everything is being tested. All the upgrade paths and everything are being tested. So,
how useful is RelEnv for non-Salt projects?
It's super generic. Essentially what it is you can kind of think of it like a virtual environment, but it includes Python and it's relocatable on the file system. So essentially you get a Python environment that you can install things in and then zip up and send to someone else, and they can unzip it and run whatever you installed into it.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions if
Yeah,
allowed.
go for it. Yeah, go for it.
The first one is last Tuesday on the schedule, there was a Salt Formulas working group, but I wasn't able to join that meeting because according to Zoom, the meeting ID in the calendar entry was invalid. Is that a working group that's still ongoing, or do they need a new meeting ID?
They do, but I've not been informed that there was any trouble with that. So yeah, we'll definitely look into that and get that sorted. Who was I need to see who's running that group. It was Krill, wasn't it, at one point? I don't know if that's still him that's running that. We'll look into it, Hunter, and I apologize for the inconvenience there. We'll get it sorted.
No, if you would send me a blast on general or in Slack somewhere so that I can rejoin. My group does want to monitor that. The other one is Salt defaults to YAML. One of my team members asked, what about TOML? Could you put Jinja on top of TOML and run that through Salt?
We don't have support for that today, but it could potentially be done, yes.
I'm not sure what the advantages would be, but I was asked to ask
We
that
did-
question.
We did have someone, this was a couple of years ago at this point, we did have someone submit a pull request to add support for it. But I don't, there was a hurdle to getting it merged. I suspect it was that they didn't want to write tests. And we insist on having tests for all PRs. But if someone wants to add support for it and is willing to write tests, then there's no reason for us not to support that.
Okay. It wasn't clear to me what the advantages would be inherently over YAML, but I wanted to ask. The other one is we just upgraded our production system last Monday, and the GetFS support on our Syndix has died. We're not able to go through the Syndix anymore. Is that a known issue, or are we facing something new?
What version?
We're on 3005.2, I think. Let me check that.
Okay, there is a known issue with Syndix. I don't believe it's specifically around the Git stuff.
Okay.
But it could be the same issue. I would recommend opening a bug report, and we'll go ahead and look at it and try to determine if it's the same thing or a new thing.
Okay. 3005.1. It was interesting. We have for various reasons, this is our HPC cluster. We have 4 machines currently that are Syndix because we're in the middle of a transition between CentOS 7 and CentOS Stream 8. For the upgrade, the CentOS 7 systems continued to work perfectly. GetFS only failed on the CentOS Stream 8 systems.
Yeah, that's interesting. It may actually be a GetFS issue then.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not sure.
I'll get my colleague to file a bug report.
One question for you, Hunter. What kind of packages are you using? Is it the classic packages or Wonder packages?
This is Wonder. We have completely switched over to Wonder.
Okay.
Wonder solved a number of salt dependencies interfering with other system dependencies issues for us. And so Wonder has been pretty good to us so far.
Well, that is
That's great news.
fantastic to hear. Thank you for the feedback.
Well, relatively speaking, we're a heavy Python shop, and we were running into problems of Salt pulling in system RPMs for its dependencies, which we then wanted to upgrade, which was in a couple of cases no bueno. The other problem that we were finding was when we transitioned from one Salt version to another, frequently our users had picked up on the fact that Salt had included various dependencies, and now our users were dependent upon them, and we were never able to completely expunge the older Salt versions from the system.
Yeah.
So that's an operations issue. It's not a Salt bug. But Wonder solves that because it hides Salt's dependencies from the users, and all they see is what we as the sysadmins present to them, and we think that's a big win.
Yeah, and so that is where RelEnv, I believe if you take a deeper look at RelEnv, you may see value there. For other
Take a look at it.
Things, yeah, for sure. It's the repository is kind of long-winded. The name of it is Relative Environment for Python. It's under the saltstack.org.
I found it. I just haven't had a chance to go through it yet.
Sure.
Also, Hunter, it looks like the formulas working group is currently on hiatus. However, it'll be resuming soon, or at some point, I'm assuming in the near future, and we'll definitely let you know.
Much appreciated.
And I apologize for that. Yeah, sure.
Not at all. Thank you very kindly.
There was another question in the chat. I believe Gareth is going to be the best one to answer this, but it's about the Wonder option in the Bootstrap script. Has it been documented, and will it still be Wonder for 3006?
For 3006, we're actually going to be moving to be the Wonder option will still be there, but we'll be transitioning to by default the Bootstrap script will install the Wonder version, because that will be the only version that will be available for 3006. So the stable release, stable option will install Wonder, but we'll keep Wonder around just in case people are still using it. But eventually we'll deprecate it. Hopefully that answered your question. Yep.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. Just on GitHub Actions, previously with the sort of Jenkins-based infrastructure, if you wanted to rerun a failed test suite for a particular platform, you could use rerun and then the sort of the test suite name in a comment in a PR. Is there an equivalent way of doing that for platforms that have already moved to GitHub Actions?
You can
So
rerun in the, oh, go ahead, Pedro.
So the GitHub UI should give you an option to rerun. So when you go to the job.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be. I'll go and have a look at that again. But I did look for that.
It only shows up at the very end of the run, unfortunately. That's
right.
kind of a caveat.
Yes.
Is you have to wait till the whole thing finishes.
Okay.
But then it does present you an option to only rerun the things that have failed, which is kind of nice.
Right.
We're hopefully going to rely on that, the GitHub UI. If at some point in the future it makes sense to support the comment, I don't believe there's any technical hurdles in us doing it. It would just be implementation, just going ahead and implementing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Good stuff. Anybody else?
Actually, I have one more thing. I think there's some discussion. I wasn't on at the previous community call about Pepper. And Gareth, I had a sort of brief conversation with you about maintainership of that. I just wanted to see, because I've been speaking to Matt Phillips, who no longer has time to do that. Gareth, are you the best person to sort of deal with to work that out, and also to get the maintainership of the PyPy package as well handed over to somebody? Either, I'm happy to take it, or it may be worth getting someone from VMware to actually ensure you have access to that as well.
Yeah, I believe we still do. And I think I added you, and if I didn't, I meant to, as a maintainer on that project, since you were interested in maintaining it. If I didn't, I will do that shortly.
Great.
But yeah, we'll look into figuring out like maintainership of that going forward.
We do have plans to make the Salt client, like basically add the functionality whatever Pepper provides today to the actual Salt CLI.
Oh, great.
So in the future release, I can't say for sure when it will be, but that work will be starting after 3006.
I mean, that would be awesome. In the meantime, I'm happy to, take on maintaining Pepper as is, because I know certainly I use it heavily, and a lot of people I work with do. So, but yeah, I mean, having that functionality within the client would be awesome.
Great.
And by the way, for everyone who's
sorry,
go ahead, ask that again. Ask that again. Go for it.
What does Pepper? Oh, it's the Salt API instance. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Oh, no worries. That's why we're here. Hunter, ask all those kind of questions, right? So, okay, is there anybody else? No, we're good. I just want to put this out there. Barney said something. Is Gareth the right person to contact for this? If you ever find yourself asking the question, Is Gareth the right person? The answer is always yes. Always. The guy's forgotten more about this than most of us will probably ever know. So don't be afraid to hit him up. Okay, if there's nothing else in his,
And not just, I'll just toss it out there, not just salt things, like anything, any aspect of your life, financial, real estate,
it's true.
car
Politics,
purchases,
love,
stock investments, politics, especially politics, religion. Yeah. Yeah. All of it.
One-stop shopping. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Shopping is another aspect. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a girlfriend for that.
Clothes, style
Clothes,
points.
fashion, style, hair, makeup.
Gareth puts the goo in guru.
If you need help on like how to raise kids,
God.
like you know.
I don't know what that means, Shane, but it sounds illegal.
And with that, I think the meeting should be over.
Well, not quite, Hunter. You're close. In his first permanent turn as our new joke master, Shane, if you would play us out, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you. So what did the pirate say on his 80th birthday? I'm 80.
Yes. Yes. What a great first go.
Oh.
Let's hear it for Shane Lee.
Well, I'm waiting
Well
for the salt store comment.
Oh, is that right? Okay. You know, you get us, that's a warm up. Maybe next time.
Everybody else got a salty store invite.
All right, fine. Go to the salty store, pick out what you want, and send me a code. Send me what you want. I'll get you a code. I think that, because we're really putting you on the spot here to do this. So I appreciate it, Shane. Yeah, go grab you something out of the salty store.
Now he's not going to do it next time. He's done. Like, you're supposed to get that carrot. So like, he's got the incentive to come back and do another joke.
I think that's in the contract, right? That's in your writer, is you do the jokes that give you the swag. So anyway, all right, everybody, thank you. Great open hour. I appreciate all the contribution. Thank you to DWAS and to Pedro and to Alyssa and of course Shane. And thanks to all of you for coming again. Check out everything that's happening on saltproject.io, will you? We've got our community calendar there. You can join a working group there. Everything you need should be right there. And we're going to make it easier than ever for you to join Slack. So we'll be adding a billion Slack tabs on that website so that you can find it super, super easy. So watch for that in the future. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the next Salt Project Community Open Hour.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.